there's been a change of plan. Well, there's been a couple of changes. First off, you might actually be able to hear me now because I have a new microphone. Although it's not just this, it's all the gear that goes with it and the gear that's on top of the camera. So yeah, instead of just inaudible muffling, you can hopefully hear what I'm saying. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. The other change is that originally we were going to do the cam belt on this car, and now we're not. No, it's not even we're not. I'm not. There's a reason why, and it's documented in this book, which you may have heard of. And in here, it says, the timing belt tension tool is now required to apply the correct tension. A tool which checks seam units is necessary, i.e. a seam tool. Oh, gone dark again. Yeah, a seam tool, which is basically a little device which I think it's like a little bracket with 2 plates either side and one in the middle, and the one in the middle pushes and the 2 on the outside push the opposite way, and it measures how much force it needs to deflect the belt, and that tells you how tight the belt is. We have one of them, and then when you first put the belt on, you loosen the bolt, you turn the tensioner anti-clockwise, blah blah, until 98, don't know what that symbol means, 98 seam units is read on the tool. Fine. Then you go around and you do it all again, you turn the engine clockwise 8 times, then you measure it again, and this time it needs to read 54. You rotate the engine back to the same position, but it has to read a different number, okay? Then you remove it again after doing a few things to release its internal forces, and then refit it and check it again, and check that it is between 51 and 57. You have to measure it 3 times. 3 times. It's not unusual to have to use a seam tool, and it's not unusual for someone doing a cam belt on their driveway to omit the seam tool. In fact, on a BX 16 valve engine, which is the engine I'm most experienced, if you like, at doing cam belts on, actually no, probably not, probably a TU of some sort, but along that sort of thing, you just get a feel for it. You know, you put the belt on in a certain way, and you give the belt where you know where it is, and you turn the engine a few times. Yeah, that's about right. You don't do it 3 times. And I've basically said to the guy, I don't think I should do it for 2 reasons. Firstly, experience. I'm not experienced because I've never even got a seam tool. I've never used one. I've never even seen one firsthand. The other reason is that if I were to figure out a way of measuring the belt tension myself, and even assuming I could get it right, and that he didn't drive it off and then 6 months down the line belt pings or comes off, I don't think I'm going to be good value for money for him, quite frankly, because it'll take me a long time to faff around figuring it all out. And I think he can get better value for money just taking it somewhere else, who won't really do a worse job, because a cam belt is one of those jobs you either get it wrong or you get it right. So there's not too much you have to take apart to do it. I would recommend probably a Peugeot Citroen competent specialist who knows the engine. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an involved job, but that's not the end of the world. But I haven't got the tools. It would take me a long time to figure it out without them. And I've had a quick peek in the cover, and the belt doesn't, I mean, you can't tell, but you should never look at a belt and say, oh, that doesn't need doing. But it doesn't look like it's about to snap. So I think the best thing for him to do is to take it back and find someone to do the belt on it at a later date, probably in the next couple of months. But yeah, so he's got the belt kit, and we've got all the gear except the tool, and I just don't fancy risking it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to put it back together without a new cam belt. Still got to faff about with the exhaust, still got to faff about with the gearbox oil, the drive shaft, the track rod end on the driver's side, all the arch liners, the front bumper, and filling up the LDS fluid and bleeding that all in. So yeah, that'll be fun. At least I get it off the ramp quicker. Yeah, that'll be good. That headlamp is very yellow. Right, so the first job at the moment will be to put the offside drive shaft back in, which is the big one. That goes back in through the hole. And then you realise that you put a bit of tissue in there when you were grinding yesterday and you've not removed it. And you nearly punched it into the diff with the end of a drive shaft. Nice and gently, don't hit the drive shaft seal. Bearing in. There she goes. There we go. Right, so the drive shaft's sat in there at the moment. And what I'm going to do is just pop this this end in here, just to keep it sandwiched in place. As I discovered yesterday, it's going to be reluctant. Ow! Right, that's located. Now, I don't know if you remember, we had those two little hooky bolt type things up here. 11mm ratchet. And once these are in, I can start filling the gearbox with oil. Well, not to the top obviously, because that would be wrong. Lower ball joint done. Drive shaft done. Hub nut not yet. We'll wait on that. I'm thinking out loud here. Gearbox oil. Actually no, brake discs have arrived. So I can do the entire hub. Let's do that. Let's just get that done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh. 15 and a half. As it came off on the top, so. Ooh. Someone's driving past in a car that sounds like diarrhea. And then how many was it? 15 and a half, wasn't it? 15 and a half? Yeah. So that's half there. Is that bitten? Yes. 1, 2, 4, 3, sir, 3. 3. Ah. Brother Maynard, bring me the hand grenade. Did I do the other side? I did! I did not do the other side. So all the wires are back in. Brake caliper is there, patiently waiting. Ah! Aha! Of course. I forgot. Handbrake on the front brakes. Which means I haven't put the hub nut on. But after that, it means you have to wind the piston back in. Because of course, as the brake pads have worn, they're getting thinner and thinner. That means the piston's coming out further and further. And the disc's getting thinner and thinner as well, albeit not at the same rate. So because it's all getting thinner and thinner, the piston's coming out further and further. And it needs pushing in more inner and inner. But you can't just push it in, because if it has a handbrake mechanism built into it, chances are that is on a threaded screw thing that keeps coming out, so the piston sits in a, ooh, well, I can't remember which caliper it was I took apart, but there's one where I think the piston sits in a thing that comes out and it winds, so the handbrake is all, you know, otherwise as the pads wore out, your handbrake would lose tension. So it's almost like an auto, or it could be bollocks, that could be complete crap. Who knows? Who knows? Should I just make other things up? That is the recommended torque setting. So you've got, obviously at the moment that nut could just come undone. And there's a hole through the shaft through which this pin goes, and the cap that goes over the nut will come into focus at some point. It's alright, we can wait, we've got time. Yay! There you go. So the cap that goes on the nut has got these little slots in it, and basically you've got, because you've got a 12-point star there, and you've got these slots, there are a number of combinations you can fit this in, and that's the right one. Just keep going until you find the right one. And then yes, it is completely normal to fit a split pin. That's not a split pin, is it? An R-clip. A big R-clip with a hammer. This is completely professional, completely above board. That always happens. Oh, what is this? I think that's a horrible attempt at a helicoil. That is horrible. And it's actually sitting proud. I can't remember what Ian's videos said now, but he had a problem with his brakes. I wonder if he actually took the disc off. Because if the disc is sitting on that and that, those little lumps there, so you've got the 4 holes that the wheel bolts screw into. So this is the threaded bit that the wheel nuts or the wheel bolts will screw into. You've got these 2 little holes here, which obviously there's countersunk disc retaining screws, but there's this silver lump thing in there, which you can kind of see it stuck out. So it looks like, well, it's either the remains of a helicoil, or someone has actually drilled and tapped that hub. Because that's the remains of a bolt, and if the disc goes on there, but this raised surface, because it's, I can show you how raised that is. Stuck right out, that is. That, if the disc sits on that, it won't sit flush, it'll wobble, and you get juddery braking. And these are the bolts that are in it, which aren't looking clever. I think Ian put these in. So, yeah, something's not right there. Look at that. How much play there is in that. I think what I'll do is I'll grind back that lip, and I'll just use some countersunk bits, some countersunk bolts that I've got in the drawer, and just offer it our best wishes. Because, as I say, they're not a safety. It's not a safety feature. It's just to stop the disc moving when you take the wheel off, when the wheel bolts aren't in there. The other thing we're going to need is a disc caliper wind back tool, which I'll go and grab, and I'll show you how that works, because it's really exciting. Now, somewhat annoyingly, I can only find suitable bolts to make a disc retaining bolt that are that long, which is too long. Oh, they'll do the job, but they'll also stick out the other side and hit something. But I don't know how much to cut them down until I put the disc on. I can't put those on because I don't know where the discs are. Ah, they're here. If they don't have the zinc coating on them, stop them rusting. Oh, that's good. So I'm just trying to clear these threads up, because I'm assuming I couldn't drill those holes in the right place. They're probably not going to put the threads in right either. Certainly doesn't feel like they have. And they're not even in the right place. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's alright. Right, that's improved. Well, I never noticed any problems with this anyway on the braking. But then I probably didn't take it above 50, if that. Maybe 45. Hopefully the holes in the disc are big enough to allow it. I remain unconvinced. Just about. Oof. That's close. There is a fair bit of binding going on there. Dear oh dear. What a mess. Who's done that? Really? I'm going to watch Ian's videos back. If it's him, what's it stuck on? Oh no, it's ruining the bolts. There's too much tension. The holes are just in the wrong place. And I don't want to drill those holes out in the disc even more because, well, that would be stupid. Oh yeah, it's flattened the thread off on there, look. I don't know if you can see that. Well, that's no good. Ah, so it will go on like that. Right, so that's why the discs won't go on. Yeah, no, it's not in the right place. So as you can see, the holes are not aligned with the holes in the disc at all. I can't easily drill that. To drill that out, what I thought what I could do is drill out what's left and tap it out to M8 thread, so a bigger bolt, because the holes in the disc are big enough to take an M8. But that would mean drilling this, but not that. So I'd basically have to try and drill off centre into an already 6mm wide hole, which is not going to happen. So I'm not entirely sure what to do here. I've got to be honest, my gut feeling is to not put them in at all. Because really all the purpose they serve is to stop the disc rotating on the hub once you've taken the wheel bolts out, so you can't get the wheels realigned. So if you're on the side of the road or something like that and you're trying to put a spare wheel back on and you've had the engine running and in neutral it's just rotated slightly with the friction, you're fighting in the dark, in the rain, you can't get the wheel bolts back on. I think that's all they're there for. It can't be anything to do with the brakes themselves, because I mean those are so small. They don't bear any. I don't think they do anything once the wheel's tightened up. So I may try putting one in, perhaps. I can't put both in. Those are just ruined. Really, it needs a new hub or a replacement hub. That's what it wants if you're going to do the job properly. And we haven't got those. I don't carry C5 wheel hubs or hub flanges on account of the fact all I do is spend my life slagging them off. See if this one's seized up. Sometimes you can't turn them at all. Oh God. God, man. That's not moving. It's probably seized, isn't it? Something else to add to the day. No, it's not actually turning. Better tell the man he needs a new caliper, hadn't I?